Здравствуйте, уважаемые телезрители, вы смотрите ваши...
Greetings, dear TV viewers. You're watching your public television. On air is the program Russian Ideas. It deals with hidden and evident concepts in our consciousness. In today's program, we'll be discussing science, specifically Russian science, which indeed continues to make interesting discoveries. By the way, an interesting report was made recently by media sources all over the world about a great discovery made in China.
В Китае было сделано великое открытие. С этим, наверное, сложно не согласиться.
It's probably hard not to agree, but it's interesting to point out that this discovery was made many years earlier in Russia,
в России и в наше время это открытие могут повторить.
and today it can be repeated by young children under the guidance of an experienced teacher, an experienced mentor.
Опытного наставника. Этим опытным наставником является наш сегодняшний гость Виктор Иванович.
This experienced mentor is today's guest, Viktor Ivanovich Petrik, who has been on the program before and provoked great interest among our viewers, among our audience. So let's begin by taking a look at that great Chinese discovery and then at what Russian children have done. Please play the video. The most important piece of scientific news in the last few days came to us from a Chinese university. There, an almost weightless substance was developed, the lightest of all solid materials. Nature had never created such a thing, nor alone people. But who needs graphene aerogel? Daria Grigorieva reports. It weighs next to nothing. This phrase accurately describes graphene aerogel. It is so light that it can be supported by a cherry blossom. It's that particular presentation that was chosen by scientists at Zhejiang University to show their creation to the world. It has a density of 0.16 milligrams per cubic centimeter, making it the lightest man-made material in the world. It is also extremely elastic. It can be compressed up to 80% and it will retake its original form. The Chinese simply learned how to dry and remove extraneous molecules via the simple method of freezing, which means the manufacture of aerogel, unlike previous models, is now possible at an industrial scale. The primary use of this material is in energy. It is one of the best heat insulators. It can help accumulate energy, accelerate chemical reactions, but most important are its ecological benefits. For example, removing oil from reservoirs. However, we shouldn't expect the manufacture of this miracle sponge anytime soon. The Chinese learned to dry graphene to the aerogel state at low cost, but the manufacture of graphene itself is so far only available to a select few and is a result of manual labor. Daria Grigorieva and Boris Brykin, Vesti.
Ну вот, мы посмотрели эти уникальные.
Well, we've just seen these amazing images, but now let's ask Viktor Ivanovich to comment on them.
Какова же китайская
What was the
идея?
Chinese concept of graphene, and what was the Russian one?
Ну, было очень симпатично, насколько я...
I'd say it's cute insofar as I know what ended up happening.
Ну,
What can I
что я
say?
вам скажу? Да, графены — это Нобелевская премия.
Yes, two Russian citizens who emigrated did indeed win the Nobel Prize in 2010 for their research on graphenes.
Сограждане, уехавшие из России. Это мое открытие.
This was my discovery.
Дипломное открытие.
My thesis discovery from 2001.
Вот это
I registered this American patent in 2004, the industrial means of producing graphenes.
году промышленный способ получения графенов получил.
As it turned out, coincidentally, I received the patent 3 days after it had been 6 years since the Nobel Prize ceremony.
После вручения Нобелевской премии. Вот эта книга английского автора Харриса
This is a book by the English author Harries.
приводит
Here he uses some of my later products, my graphenes, the ones you just saw, for illustrative purposes.
изделия из моих графенов. Из того, что вы сейчас видели. Что такое графены?
What are graphenes?
Если вы
If you
возьмете
take a grain of graphite and remove one page, it will look just like this book here.
одну страничку, она точно выглядит как вот эта книжка. Она состоит вот из таких плоских
It is made up of flat pages like this, which are called two-dimensional carbonaceous crystals.
двумерные углеродные кристаллы. Двумерные, потому что здесь у
They are called two-dimensional because here its size is enormous, up to 30 microns, but its thickness is equal to one atom.
атом. Что же мы сегодня видели? Ребенок.
And today we saw a child, which of course was absolutely staggering.
Что я сделал
And what did we see?
в 2000
What did I do in 1996?
году? Я положил между каждой страницей
Between each page I put a special chemical compound capable of causing explosive decay.
способное к взрывообразному разложению. И вот вы видели, ребеночек вылил
And here you saw how a child poured out that liquid, which detonated a chemical amount of that mass.
вещества. А дальше начинается
Next,
на
to use our jargon, an autocatalytic chain reaction.
цепная реакция. То есть это вещество, распадаясь,
Which is to say that as it decayed, this substance stimulated the next one, which decayed and detonated, as it were, and each time a page breaks off. If we were to take my diploma and wrinkle it, we would get a little mountain. And that's exactly what we saw with one of these pages.
Ее видели, эту гору. Это феноменальное вещество.
This is a phenomenal
Это
substance.
мы,
This is us in 2007, together with the United Russia Party.
Единая Россия, проведя многолетние исследования,
We conducted an investigation over several years. 36 test results taken from Lomonosov Moscow State University, using it as a sorbent for water
в качестве
purification.
сорбента для очистки воды. 11. Институт криминалистики
11 were taken from the FSB Institute of Criminalistics. 8 were from the Central Scientific Research Institute of the Ministry of Defense, and so on.
И так далее. На основании этих данных партия Единая
On the basis of these results, the United Russia Party announced the Clean Water Project.
была допущена.
Here they made a serious mistake. The project coordinators declared that every apartment will get a third water tap for each child.
У нашего ребеночка это возбудило силы большие против
This
нас.
stirred up strong forces against us, like bottled water, for example.
Воду никто не купит. И, как вы помните, вот вы журналист,
And this would mean that nobody would buy a bottled water.
должно было случиться, чтобы в одну ночь 46 журналистов
And as you'll recall, and as journalists, you should be able to imagine what probably happened. In one night, 46 journalists wrote negative articles about it.
но, как вы
They hit us hard.
китайцы,
This program was eliminated in Russia, but as you can see, the Chinese are already on the path.
такое крошечное количество сделали, как вы видели.
The Chinese today are making a tiny amount, and it's so funny that they're demonstrating my experiments.
И эксперименты они демонстрируют. Вот вы видите, если у вас на столе, то вы видите...
Take a look at your table. You can see the substance. For this, we'll need some agility. Here,
Вот, пожалуйста. Вот он, одуванчик,
a
который
dandelion. A dandelion supports this absolutely weightless substance.
удерживает эту абсолютно невесомую субстанцию. Это правда все. Это правда.
It's all true. Here, hold it up to the light.
Если у вас там на
And you saw it in the video.
а вы же
Maybe you even already knew.
можно уж
I think our viewers will believe this, right?
Поверь.
Believe?
поверить.
I don't need anyone to believe. What are we here for? Why believe us?
Зачем же
Will your viewers see this?
вот увидят ли ваши зрители?
Ну, это непосредственно это вот семечко одуванчика.
This is not by means of anything. This is a dandelion seed, upon which rests a little piece of this graphene substance.
Вот смотрите, давайте я вам положу.
I think everyone.
Вот видит ваша
Take a look, let me show you.
Вы видят эту
You can see it clearly.
Но
Can your camera see it?
вы не
Do your viewers see this
на
beauty?
самом деле сегодня.
But you can't imagine what's actually going on today.
Победа будет. И
Of
она
course we'll have our
будет.
victory, and that victory will be unbelievable.
1,5 года военно-медицинской академии
Since the Military Medicine Academy spent a year and a half carrying out a rigorous experiment.
Сейчас я только
Thankfully, I only made graphene.
и идея моя.
And it's also my idea,
Это стандарт.
and this is a standard
Когда у
experiment.
животного удаляются обе почки. И вот рассказываю. Контрольная группа
When
животных.
both kidneys are removed from an animal.
Наша группа,
And let me tell you,
которые дают
the
это,
control group lives 20 hours, but our group, which was given this as an enterosorbent, lives 60 hours.
удлинили
We
жизнь
tripled the life for a post-operation or
после
wounded
операционного
person,
периода
and
или
for
в
someone
рамках
sick with cancer.
или
And in America today, a special clinic for my studies was purchased. I congratulate you, Oncological Center, for my studies. There are more in other countries, but I won't name them.
Поздравляю вас. Клиника, онкологический центр под мои исследования. Ну, еще в нескольких странах, не буду называть, тут же начнут
Можно
атаковать.
уточнить один вопрос, как вы сказали,
I'd like to clarify one thing. As you said, graphene can be used in medicine and to purify water, but what else can it be used for?
Еще я создал аппарат, который очищает воздух от вируса. И это тоже будет феноменально.
I ask so that our audience can understand why it's necessary.
Явление. Ну, это сделано. Много областей применения, в отличие
Will I also create an apparatus that purifies air of
от того, что
viruses?
надо.
This will also be a phenomenal victory. It's very complex, but I've made it.
Шума, как сейчас.
There are many areas of application for it in science.
Но
Виктор Иванович, получается, что вы
Please tell us,
потеряли,
Viktor
да,
Ivanovич.
Нобелевскую
It
премию.
turns out that you lost a
Довольно
Nobel Prize.
потерять Нобелевскую
What's that
премию?
like?
Ощущение, да,
Is
наверное.
it easy to lose a Nobel Prize? It's unlikely that anyone has ever felt that.
да, вы знаете, вы правы. Категории страдания.
Well, you're right. If we talk about categories of suffering, then it's not like your wife leaving you.
Это своеобразные, серьезные страдания. Посадили в
It's its own form of serious suffering, or like being put in prison.
это редкие переживания.
It's a rare form of experience in which you understand that you weren't able to do something, that you missed your chance, you missed your Nobel Prize.
Нобелевскую премию. Почему? Ну, сейчас же
Why?
начинают говорить.
Well, now people say different things.
96-й год
First of all,
я
it was in 96 that I made this
получил
discovery,
графен.
made graphene.
Сейчас же вам начнут говорить, что все знают.
Now people will say that everyone knew the structure of graphite long before that. Yes, but no one had ever separated graphenes from graphite.
В 96-м году именно
And it was in 96, in that year specifically, that the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry chose to name two-dimensional carbonaceous crystal graphene in honor of my discovery.
То есть это название тоже тесно
So the
связано
name
с вами.
itself is closely tied to you and your...
назовем
Well, we can call that a coincidence, because there's no proof. Call it a rare coincidence, but still.
и все же.
This experience was so specific, but despite all that, I'm still ahead of everyone else, because I don't have a tiny amount like the Chinese have, but 16
Но
tons.
учитывая то, что все же сегодня я впереди всех, потому что у меня не наперсточек, как у китайцев, а 16 тонн лежит. Я только
I just sold 25 tons to our government, 20 for oil. They bought 25 tons and use them today in emergency oil containment.
тонн купили и по сегодняшний день используют во всех аварийных разливах нефтяных.
Понятно. У нас уже не так много времени.
I
Скажите,
see.
пожалуйста, еще есть
We don't have much time
уже
left.
наука.
Please tell
Может
us.
быть, тогда
There's a question of pseudoscience.
Насколько знаю, вы
Perhaps you can tell us what that
пострадали,
is.
да?
As far as I'm
Этой
aware, you
комиссии,
suffered from it,
этой
from that
деятельности.
commission, from that
Вы
activity.
знаете, что, ну,
You know, that's a very complex question, but I'll tell you something in
ну,
a
я
few
вам скажу
words.
следующее, тогда в 4 словах.
Ну, у нас
Огромное
такая
количество,
комиссия есть,
огромное
да?
есть, огромное
So
количество
does such a commission exist?
которые приехали ко мне, которые были в лабораториях, которые сами своими руками есть
It does. There are an enormous number of academicians who came to visit me, who were in my laboratories, who use their own hands, and there's film to prove it, to make graphene from scratch. And there were some rare effects that have not been explained to this day. They all gave amazing interviews, and 14 of the leading academicians, including Vice Presidents Solntsev and Yalbushev, signed a document saying, what VI Petrik has discovered holds great scientific interest that should be distributed to the appropriate high-profile institutions for study. However, there is a standing commission on pseudoscience. You'll agree that it's extremely difficult to believe. Spinel is an optical combat material. America worked on it from 1964 onward. Russia started in 1972. But in 1987 and 1989, respectively, they stopped the research. And yet some person achieved it. It's hard to believe because I did it. This is indeed such a case in which I consider myself guilty of the conclusions that the Commission on Pseudoscience reached. And this is why.
Есть люди, которые ползут к цели. И выдохнув, натирают,
There are those who crawl to their goals and start cleaning the boots of an oligarch when they run out of breath.
которые рожают, а есть те, в которых молния.
There are those who give birth and those who were struck by lightning, like
Но
me.
такие тоже нужны геному. Такие
But the
бывают
genome
попробуй.
needs those too.
Я не попробую.
I didn't
А
crawl,
нужно было
but I was
прийти
supposed to go in there
к
and bow and
комиссии.
ask the commission to come and see.
Приедьте, Посмотрите, а я не
But I
сделал.
didn't do that, you hear? They made their own conclusions based on the patents, but no one ever said I was guilty of pseudoscience. Not one commission, not even the Commission on Pseudoscience.
Ни одна комиссия, не комиссия по лженауке. Это
This is what the journalists did. Let me show you this beauty. The reason why I brought this bouquet.
Да, да, да,
Букет.
мы обещали показать.
Зачем я привез этот букет? Давайте мы
Why I brought this bouquet. It's kind of crooked.
потом кривущий.
Please take this, young lady, and take a look.
Пожалуйста,
This is it.
сестренка, посмотрите, это
The
все.
flowers are genuine.
Ну, это настоящее.
Genuine tulips.
Ну, на судя по
Judging from Natasha's reaction, it seems the flowers really are
Какая у
genuine.
меня была реакция?
Я
Нет,
What was my reaction?
Потому что,
These flowers are absolutely genuine.
Китайцы показали на тычинках, а вы вот на этих.
Some people will say the Chinese demonstrated this on the stamen, and you're showing us on these. Please, I'll show you, if I'm agile enough.
О,
А, держится.
вот,
Does
пожалуйста.
that hold?
Отлично.
But of course.
Можно
Excellent.
всё усложнить.
Well, we can. We can make everything harder.
Вот вам,
Yes,
пожалуйста.
Итак,
yes, yes.
сейчас нас смотрят, завидуют.
Here you are.
Ответ.
If the Chinese are watching us, they should be
Наш ответ,
jealous.
да, российский.
Да, наш
This is
ответ,
my
вы
response.
простите меня, я правда не
Our
сказал.
Russian response.
Так хотел быть таким
Yes, ours. Forgive me. I didn't say the right thing.
уравновешенным в вашей передаче.
I'd like to be calm and balanced in your
Снова
program,
зачастил,
but here I am again,
зачастил.
rushing my
Возьмите,
words.
пожалуйста, вашу руку.
Take this in your hand,
Подумайте,
please.
что это такое.
Try and understand what it's like.
Я вообще веса почти не
I
чувствую.
really almost don't feel any weight.
Оно и есть.
Обалдеть.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Пожалуйста.
Now try this, please.
Я не смогу, наверное.
I probably won't be able to. I'm not agile enough.
Ну,
Well, it's holding. Did you see?
держится.
Did you see it? It
Видели?
really is holding.
Видели, нет?
As for enemies, and I spit on them again and again.
Ну, а что касается
Well, it's clear that
врагов,
here we have what we could call a Russian response using a Chinese invention. At least what we have isn't worse, right? It might even be better. It seems Russian science is indeed alive, and this is one of Russia's most important ideas as well. It's alive. I think someone from the Commission will soon arrive and see all of this, and will be working again. At the very least, that's what I'm aiming for.
живая, я думаю, что скоро
Victor Ivanovich,
комиссия
here's a
приедет
question.
и увидит.
We have very little time left, but nonetheless,
Будем работать
the invention
с
exists,
вами.
and I think it will be highly valued. But will we be able to implement it? Our problem lies more in the fact that we have practically never in our history been able to fully implement our inventions to make them be good for everyone, for society and for the economy. That's not how it is at all. Discoveries were made and implemented, and everything has existed. Take a look, we can really... Right now, there are large difficulties, and you know that industry has collapsed. Where can we implement it? Who needs it? Where do we turn? That's the problem. What factory can you go to if it doesn't exist? What red chemist can you go to show your supercatalyzer when red chemist doesn't exist? What are you going to catalyze? That means that one way or another, you need to take it elsewhere. You saw a miracle today. You must agree that this is all very... Well, at least you can see on our program. Yes, it definitely makes a strong impression. There's no way, right? It's not a coincidence that the program is called Russian Ideas. We demonstrated the idea of graphene, the idea of Russian science, but now we need to implement that idea in order to turn it into something with weight, into something material that everyone will benefit from. It'll happen. It's already happening. It's important that our viewers feel that this is not some abstract invention. Let them think it's a miracle if they want to. But this is a miracle that can make their lives at least a little bit easier. How about next time we pour some oil or filth into the water and then drink from it? We'll do what we can. I'm in favor. Thank you very much for your participation. Let's say goodbye. See you soon. Goodbye.
До свидания.